trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it.
Hello friends and subscribers, this is MrHerrIQ. I'd just like to make a quick update what I'm going to do next, because the video I will be uploading might be it's a bit different from what I've done before, and if you don't know why I'm uploading it, it might make you a bit suspicious, it might make you throw you off or whatever, I don't know. I'd just like to explain a little bit about what I'm going to do next and why, right? Well, just quickly, I've spent 4.5 months now doing this video series, and at times it was really boring and frustrating. You have to focus a lot of time, and it just got stressful at times. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to make something more spontaneous, impulsive, and so forth. And I want to upload videos when I would like to make a video and so forth. I don't want to feel the pressure. I don't want to make a series, although this will be a series, but there will not be a part 1, part 2, part 3. It will just be whatever it is. But it is a consistent whole, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to deliver to you my worldview in regards to a lot of things that pertains to the zeitgeist, the Weltanschauung of many peoples, the worldview of many peoples, the contemporary society, orthodoxy, and so forth. I'm going to try to explain that, because and it kind of ties into the series that I just did regarding racism being natural. Well, if racism is natural and hardwired, then how come we can see anti-racist explicit attitudes? Well, what I'm arguing is that the reason why we see anti-racist explicit attitudes in society among majority groups, not among minority groups, because what we see among minority groups is kind of self-explanatory. The has-nots would rather get rid of borders and distinctions so they can share. Imagine a poor person walking up to a man in a palace and claiming victimhood and that we're all equal and so forth. You know, he despite that he shares it with the previous owner of the palace, he still has more now than he previously had. The problem that I had with that is, or that I have with this is, of course, that eventually he will breed more kids and they might throw out the previous owner, and that is in fact what I think will happen in Europe and America, what we have been seeing in South Africa and Zimbabwe. I'm pretty sure that is what is the future of the Occident.
And you probably related to some king or some queen or some duchess of York, or somebody who benefited and probably has a castle somewhere in Europe or somewhere in wherever the hell they're from. Go to the white DNA Ancestry website and find your white ancestor. You'll probably find out that you're related to some king or queen, or even to the crown. And go up in that bitch and say, well, I'm your 16th cousin on your father's side.
So it's not strange to see disingenuous anti-racism expressed by groups with less power, foreigners. But why do we see it among the majority group? Well, not too strange. Simple answer: brainwashing. Yes, brainwashing. Not, you might think that that's too conspiracy-like and so on, but it's not strange. It happens every day. In a sense, market advertisement is based upon mass psychology. Well, I will show more about it. I will show more later on. It is also based on conformity, of course. Fear of ostracization. It's also based upon the naive expectancy of reciprocity by being humble. In European folklores, you often had people like the king in Beowulf or the Slavic kings or Robin Hood, handing out free gold to show his health and it's kind of what we are doing in today's society. We are, by being generous, showing that we have a lot. You show fitness by giving, because the person who gives, he has. And so it's not strange. It's not strange at all. To me, it's very understandable. But when I was a young kid, a child, a baby, I said a racist thing to I didn't mean anything bad by it, but I called a black man a monkey. And this is an innocent child, an innocent baby. And as the studies show in the previous series, that's not rare. It's not rare that babies are discriminating and showing favoritism. However, in my teens, I became an explicit anti-racist. I hated racists. I thought that racist made me aware of my own implicit racist attitudes. You know, I didn't want to focus on race because focusing on race was tiresome. I had implicit racist attitudes which didn't want diversity. I distanced myself from diversity in my personal life, but I went to diverse schools and so on. And, you know, I had to cope with it the best I could. And so when I encountered racists, they made me aware that I am among other races now. It created a cognitive dissonance. I didn't feel too good. And I didn't want to think about that, so I instead lashed out at the racist. They made me aware of it. However, I since then integrated my implicit racist attitudes, which are non-offensive, non-initiating of force. I might have implicit thoughts. I will not explicitly say these thoughts because I don't want to hurt people. I try to treat every person as an individual and so forth, but of course I still have implicit thoughts. It's not like I'm not aware of them, and it's not like I'm not aware of how I behave, but I do indeed find myself more happy, more calm among people of my own race. There's no question about that. It makes me feel more happy for some reason. And again, the series show that I'm far from being alone in this. And that the biggest hypocrites were the people like myself, the liberals. I was a former liberal. In fact, I went to a theater and drama school when I was younger, and I associated with a lot of communists and Marxists. So I really got brainwashed due to conformity, but also due to the television when I came home. Now, this is what I want to show. What I'm going to do in this series is that I'm going to go through what has happened historically, why it has happened. I'm going to show the hatred of Southerners, blondes, and the Germans in particular, but whites in general, but particularly Southerners, blondes, and Germans in media. I'm going to show how whites are mocked in media, how the black man is elevated in the media. I'm going to show commercials. I'm going to show movies. I'm going to show video games. I'm going to venture into popular culture. And I'm also going to go over some historical events. We hear a lot about white guilt and so forth, and I'm going to show that there's nothing really to it. I'm also going to show some societal double standards for whites. How whites are... there really is no white privilege for whites. I'm going to show that economically, and I'm also going to show corruption within science. And this is a huge topic that I'm going to go through. And the topic that I'm going to go through, but it's no problem for me to do this. It's not stressful or anything, because I have already compiled the information. It's already categorized and filed. So all I have to do is to pick up a mic and rant, like I'm doing now, while showing pictures and talking about them and so on, or showing data. But what I want with this series is to show that there is no such thing as white privilege, a unique white privilege. I also want to show how really anti-racism is anti-white. So I wouldn't call this, what I'm going to do, a series. Well, it is a series in a sense, but I don't know what name I'm going to give it yet. But you could just as well call it How White Privilege is a Lie, or the lie about white privilege, or the lie about, or how anti-racism is anti-white. You can just as well call it that, because that is what I'm going to go through, or the lie of white guilt, or whatever. Yeah, I don't know what else to say right now about it. I'm already at 10 minutes. I think you will get the gist of what I'm going to do. Now, because I'm going to venture into a lot of videos. Oh, by the way, this is not going to have a productional value. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in each video. I'm going to show the data and I'm going to rant it. Simple as. And I might upload 2 a day, might upload 1 a week or 1 a month, whenever I feel like it, because it's really about how I feel, when I want to do it, and when I have the time. I didn't feel that way about the video series on Racism is Natural, where I was all alone and I attempted to, with the limited knowledge that I had on video editing, which I learned in a very short amount of time. I don't want to do that again. Well, also, because, as I was going to say, because I'm going to go into a lot of topics, I'm not going to go into them too roughly, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you certain sources, and you can look them up. There are, for example, documentaries that I will point you to, if you're interested in knowing more about the subject, or if you want your disagreement with me to be legit, you would have to have watched one of these documentaries that I will show you, or else you will not know where the hell I'm coming from on a specific or particular topic. Yeah, essentially, the series is about how there's no such thing as white privilege, really, and how anti-racism is anti-white, or how white guilt has been exaggerated, grossly exaggerated, or how we have been brainwashed to be anti-racists explicitly. And I would actually go with the former title, How We Become Anti-Racists, because that is really the basis for this video. I want to show that we have been browbeaten with an anti-racist message. We're being harassed by the media for decades, and then we conform to this and so on. I think I want to call it that because that was what initially gave me the incentive, the inspiration to compile all this data and information, because I did this while I was making the video series on Racism is Natural. Because while I was making the video series Racism is Natural, I knew that people would ask, well, how come, well, if racism is natural, how come there is such a thing as anti-racism then? Well, of course, it's a much more complex issue than that. But certainly, the reason why it's so prevalent explicitly in society today, that is a much more simple question to answer. And that answer I have. And the simple answer, it is due to brainwashing, as I will show. I don't know what else to really say about this. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I hope you've gotten the message what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into historical events, science. I'm going to show corruption a little bit. I'm first going to go through media. That is the first thing. Then I want to go over history, and I'm going to also. You're also going to notice certain things a lot. You're going to hear certain things over and over. There's a damn good reason for that. It's not. I'm not doing it deliberately. It's like if you're studying this, it is what it is. It's. I don't know how else to put it, but you're going to hear a repeated message over and over again, because you see a pattern everywhere in history, in popular culture, and so forth.